Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I welcome all the students, faculty members, and speaker again present here for the second half of this webinar organized by Department of Civil Engineering of Pillai HOC College of Engineering and Technology in collaboration with ASTR, ISRS, and IIC. Uh, Now, I would like to welcome our second speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Sudipta Chakraborty, Infrastructure Consultant, Mumbai. His topic for today is climate change, a concern for Mumbai. I will give a quick review on his introduction. Mr. Sudipta Chakraborty is a researcher on coastal engineering and is empaneled with University of Mumbai as an external examiner for MTech level. Mr. Chakraborty had BE in Civil Engineering from Bengal Engineering College under University of Calcutta in 1978, MTech from IIT Kharagpur in 1981, and ME from world-renowned IHE Delft, the Netherlands in 1999. Formerly, he was a chief of infrastructure division of Haldia Dock under Kolkata Port Trust. He has 40 plus years of experience in large marine civil works. Mr. Sudipta Chakraborty has also authored a book on sea level rise. We are very grateful to have you here, sir. Now we can start the webinar. Before that, one instruction for everyone. If anyone have any kind of question, they can post it into chat box. Sir, now the webinar is over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar organized by the Civil Engineering Department of Pillai HOC College of Engineering and Technology. Today in this webinar, my intention is to make people aware of what is happening because of climate change and what is our concern for the city of Mumbai. Climate change is a global topic. Climate change is a hotcake topic. All the nations throughout the world are thinking how to tackle climate change. To start with, how this concept of climate came actually. Generally speaking, when we speak about climate, we say whether the place is hot or the place is cold. The reason for this difference in temperatures are actually lying on the rotation of Earth around the sun. We all know that the Earth rotates around the sun in an elliptical path. There is a major axis and there is a minor axis for that elliptical path. Whenever the Earth is away from the sun, the part which is exposed to the sunlight is hot. When it is very close to the sun, that part is very hot. And when the other part is cold. This is the basic reason for layman's understanding of climate. Regarding the definition of climate change, NASA says that it is a broad-based range of global phenomena created predominantly by burning fossil fuels, coal, petrol, etc., which add heat-trapping gases to Earth's atmosphere. These phenomena include the increased temperature trends described by global warming, but also encompass changes such as sea level rise, ice mass loss in Greenland, Antarctica, the Arctic, and the mountain glaciers worldwide, shifts in flower, plant blooming, and extreme weather events. When the Earth rotates around its own axis, because 3/4 of the Earth is full of liquid, there is a motion, what is known as Coriolis force. The Earth rotates around its own axis, and this is the direction about rotation. So direction of airflow happens in this direction in the northern hemisphere and opposite in the southern hemisphere. And this particular place is the equator, where the heat is maximum because of its nearness to the sun. Climate change versus global warming. Warming is one aspect of climate change. In fact, global warming refers to the rise in global temperatures due mainly to the increasing concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. On the other hand, climate change refers to the increasing changes in the measures of climate over a long period of time, including precipitation, rainfall, temperature, and wind patterns. Global warming refers only to the Earth's rising surface temperature, while climate change includes warming and the side effects of warming like melting of glaciers, storms, etc. What is the present scenario of heat? These are some of the clippings from some news articles. Simla is one of our important tourist places in India. Simla has hit a 40-year high with around 4 degrees centigrade in March since 1979, which is at the record high level this year. On August 8, it came in ScienceDaily.com. The risk of death rises as climate change causes nighttime temperatures to climb. The Alps mountain is having a disastrous summer. This came in August 12. US is roasting in heat wave. Texas had a record-breaking 115 degrees. New Jersey had 102 degrees and Boston is 100 degrees. UK records its hottest ever temperature with 40 degrees centigrade. If climate is your health, then weather is the mood. For about 110 years, climate change has been in the news. Are we finally ready to listen? Unique Foote, the first lady to demonstrate the greenhouse effect back in 1856. Her rudimentary experiments showed carbon dioxide and water vapor can absorb heat, which scaled up can affect the temperature of the earth. We have therefore known about the relationship between the greenhouse gases and earth's temperature for at least 150 years. Swedish scientist Vente Arrhenius did some basic calculations to estimate how much the Earth's temperature would change if we doubled the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. At the time, the carbon dioxide level were around, that time it was around 295, now it is about 421 ppm, more than 50% higher. What is happening because of climate change? Some of the species, like the polar bears, who are at the region where a lot of icebergs are there, they are at risk. If they don't have ice, they cannot survive. What is happening due to climate change? Drought. In various parts of the world, agriculture is being affected because of lack of rainfall. Last year, if you remember, a lot of locust insects came to India for a few months. So these are some of the effects of climate change. The atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration has gone up to very high, as I told, 420 ppm. This is one very important and inevitable challenge the global humankind is going to face, because we can't fight with nature. Acute concern on the global warming due to anthropogenic causes, that is the created by human. Anthropogenic means created by human, and the cascading effect on melting of ice shelves at the Arctic regions results to sea level rise. Sea level rise is one of the effects of climate change. Global sea level rise is apprehended to be in the order of magnitude of 1 meter by 2100 by the end of this century. This is the news I took 2 days back. Today is 20th August. On August 18, it came in internet that the A68 iceberg, which is at East Antarctica, is known as the sleeping giant. That is by far the largest iceberg on the planet, containing the equivalent of 52 meters of sea level. If it melts, there will be 52 meters of sea level rise, and we should not awaken this sleeping giant. If global greenhouse emissions be high, the melting ice sheet could cause nearly half a meter of sea level rise by 2100 and may contribute around 1 to 3 meters to global sea levels by 2300 and 2 to 5 meters by 2500. These are the projections by the scientists. If emissions were dramatically reduced, the East Antarctica ice sheet could contribute around 2 centimeters of sea level by 2100. Our goal is to reduce the warming and such that sea level rise can be minimized. In Paris Agreement in 2015, world leaders agreed to limit the global warming to well below 2 degrees centigrade and pursue efforts to limit the rise to 1.5 degrees centigrade. 2 degree means from pre-industrial levels. The question is, who is responsible for this global warming and who is responsible for this climate change? Late Stephen Hawking argued that humans are diminishing the Earth's resources far faster than nature or technology could possibly replace them. For our own benefit, we have extracted ores from below the earth, we have burnt them into fuel, we have used that energy. So he blamed human greed and stupidity for the impending climate disaster. He mentioned that as per the prevailing rate of population of growth, human population on the earth will be 11 billion by 2100 by the end of this century. The best hope for the survival of the human race might be independent colonies in space. Climate change is one of the great dangers we face, and it's one we prevent if we can act now. We can prevent if we can act now. The greenhouse effect. Greenhouse gases slow the escape of infrared radiation to outer space. The greenhouse effect makes life on Earth possible. If it did not exist, most of the planet would be covered in ice. Greenhouse gas is required, but there should be a limit to the greenhouse gas emissions. Greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, ozone, nitrous oxide, ammonia, etc. Fluctuations in greenhouse gas concentrations are observed in ice cores. Greenhouse gases change naturally over many centuries and sometimes quickly after a large volcano eruption. Since 1850, humans have added a lot of greenhouse gases. Due to this emission of greenhouse gases from industries, from cars, from steel plants, from cement industries, the ocean is absorbing the heat. The ocean absorbs and releases heat also. It affects the sea level, because when the water is absorbing heat, it expands. It transports heat over large distances, affects local weather and storm activity. It absorbs and releases huge quantities of carbon dioxide. Heat absorbed by ocean, I'll give an example. In the year 2019, the ocean temperature was 0.135 degrees Fahrenheit. That was 0.075 degrees Celsius higher than the average between 1981 and 2010. The average between 1981 and 2010 was taken, and in 19 that was 0.135 degrees higher than what was the average. That means that the ocean, which absorbs, as per calculation, almost all of the greenhouse gases humans put into the atmosphere, has taken in 228 sextillion, 228 into 10 to the power 21 joules of heat above its average. By comparison, how much does it mean? The Hiroshima atom bomb explosion was about 63 into 10 to the power 12 joules. So you can imagine the condition that how much heat human has put into the atmosphere. Now we come back to our own city, Mumbai. This is a scenario every rainy season we face in Mumbai. Why we face? Because whenever there is a high tide, if there is a huge rainfall, the roads, localities gets waterlogged. Last year, one extreme weather event happened. The name of this storm was Taukte on 17th May. This is one of the pictures in our famous monument, Gateway of India. Some studies were done by various institutions, and I am just a novice in this subject. In my PhD studies also I have made some studies how much water can rise at the coast of the city of Mumbai. ClimateCentral.org says that this red part will be inundated by 2100. NASA says 0.58 meter will be the rise in sea level in Mumbai. There is another from Netherlands, they call it COFU, Coastal Future. From there, from this color, we can find how much will be the sea level rise at Mumbai coast. Mumbai is here. And what I have studied through my software, these are the areas which will be underwater, and the rise of sea level will be in the order of 0.6 meter. That is only 2 feet. It doesn't feel that 2 feet is too much, but every millimeter counts. There are some uncertainties. The uncertainties are the melting of the glaciers. Ice can be in two forms. Some places the ice is found in cliffs like this, and in some places ice is found in sheets. They call it marine ice sheets instability or marine ice cliff instability. Depending on the MICI index and the MISI index, these uncertainties are yet to be determined. Along with various coastal cities throughout the world, Mumbai is also under threat for sea level rise. It will depend on the carbon concentration and emission scenarios. But this is a projection taken from ClimateCentral.org, which is an international research organization. This is the area where water is supposed to inundate. A part of Mumbai is likely to be flooded by 2050. Now there is the questions are there, whether the Paris Agreement 2015 has gone to deaf ears, whether all the governments have decided whatever they decided to limit the rise of temperature below 2 degrees centigrade, is it happening or not? Why should we allow some species to be extinct? Like I have shown you the picture of one polar bear. There are some birds in the Antarctic area. They are also likely to be extinct. There have been a lot of ideas, like some people thought from Norway to England they will make a dam, but that's a fanatic idea. Is that dam feasible in North Sea? Are we equipped to build dikes or seawalls like Netherlands everywhere? Whether migration is a feasible solution, what will happen? 300 million of people will be at distress. They will be inundated. There will be a lot of waterlogging. There will be no food, no health facility. What can we do? We have to shift them. So that is called migration. But whether migration is a feasible solution to millions of people, are we all ready? Are we not responsible for these catastrophic bushfires? Couldn't it be avoided or reduced at least? These are the questions in the mind of all the netizens. There are some facts of concern. It is already declared. You can find it in internet in various sources. 12,000 square kilometer of area of Bangladesh, our neighboring country, may go underwater by 2050. The condition of island countries like Maldives, Kiritimati, Tuvalu will even be more dreadful because they are island countries. They don't have any place to go also. Malibu Beach in California, where the richest people in the world, the Hollywood stars, are living in sprawling bungalows, are also under threat. It is very sad to know that these beautiful birds will be extinct by the end of this century. Only now 200 to 250 samples are existing. It is the greatest challenge. This climate change is the greatest challenge in post-COVID situation and reveals a query. How should our grandchildren feel about us? They will blame us that we are the reason for the climate change. Our industries, our requirements, our grid has made this climate to happen like this. Now, if we come to our own Mumbai, the city never sleeps. It's famous for the center of excellence of creative arts, music, the Bollywood to the distinctive Bada Pav, Bhelpuri, Sevpuri, a city of multimillionaires at Orly, Bandra, to Asia's largest suburban slums at Masjid Dharavi, the congested habitation at Andheri, to sprawling, well-decorated Palava and the well-planned Kharghar, to jhopdis, chawl and skyscrapers till Panvel. There is no end to Mumbai. Mumbai is the loveliest city in our country. It's the city of dreams where visions are fulfilled. From super crowded local trains to jam-packed platform to Six Sigma awardees Dabbawalas, Mumbai is unique. Mumbai is often touted as the city of dreams, and its residents are a mixed bag of achievers and strugglers. We talk of Dhirubhai Ambani, we talk of Sachin Tendulkar, Amitabh Bachchan, and the poorest beggar also. They all live in Mumbai. People come to Mumbai for earning. So there is the price of land, the price of real estate, etc. is very high. Mumbai has a total worth of $960 billion. This is from the source New World Wealth, October 2019. This is a picture which shows the growth of Mumbai. This shows about the coastal roadways project. If we go back to history, 300 years back, large part of the city of Mumbai was majority underwater. And in 16th century, when the Portuguese came, the city was a collection of coastal islands. British, who took over in 1661, reimagined Mumbai as a contiguous landmass and created a peninsula by filling in the land gaps. These black parts have all been reclaimed soil. Now, because of this reclamation, what happens? The islands have been connected, and what happened? The circulation between the water through these gaps has been reduced. This also has some effect to influence the groundwater table, etc. In one research, it was found that among 136 coastal cities across the world, Mumbai is second most at risk to climate-induced sea level rise and extreme weather events. The impact of the uncertainty on economic damage was by comparing the probability distribution, considering the stochastic model of expected damage. It was just guessed from statistics and the risk calculation for two scenarios. One scenario was relative sea level projections, is the damage under the assumption of no adaptation. That means we will not adapt to the changes, whatever is required. Whatever is happening, let it happen. That was one scenario. And other end, there is a high-end scenario that incorporates expert opinion and additional ice sheet melting. Now, what was found in that study, that Guangzhou in China tops the list, and next to Mumbai is New Orleans. So Mumbai had a position amongst 136 coastal cities as the second most at risk. This has been taken from the paper of Abadi et al. Climate change could impact Maharashtra state's solar and wind energy potential, because to reduce the pollution, to reduce the GHG, greenhouse gas emissions, to reduce carbon footprint, the alternative energies like solar energy, wind energy are becoming popular, and these are already in place. But research says from Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology that the climate change, what is happening, will affect the state's solar power and wind power. And the solar radiation is expected to decrease by 10 to 15% in 5 decades. The wind energy potential could increase significantly across state during the same period. Now the question is, you have to balance something. Solar energy, if it decreases, that means the sun rays will not be available to produce the kind of solar power required. NASA's sea level projection tool can exhibit sea levels in future under several scenarios, both greenhouse gas emissions and socioeconomic scenarios. There are 3-4 scenarios have been considered by the scientists who are thinking on this issue. That one is business as usual scenario. Whatever petrol, coal, fossil fuels are being burnt, let it burn, and let there be continuation of whatever is going to happen. What is happening, let it happen. That is called business as usual scenario. There is another scenario called accelerated emission scenario, if it increases. And there is another called low emission scenario in future. Now, NASA's sea level prediction tool predicts similar threat for Mumbai with risk of being submerged by 2050. Projections based on current trends revealed that the following cities will be submerged under a water depth. For various cities, you find Mumbai will submerge with 2 feet of rise of water. Chennai, this much. Tuticorin, Visakhapatnam, Cochin, Mangalore, Paradip, many coastal cities, wherever ports are there, Okha, Kandla, these are the values obtained from NASA. Because of the rise in sea level, some critical properties and road networks in cities like Mumbai, Kochi, Mangalore, Chennai, Visakhapatnam, and Thiruvananthapuram will be drowned by 2050. These are the forecasts. We have to fight against it. Haji Ali Dargah, it is more or less on sea. Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, Western Express Highway, Bandra Worli Sea Link, and Queen's Necklace on Marine Drive are the key infrastructures in Mumbai that are at risk of submergence. Analysis of the scenario by 2050. At Mumbai, one research organization, RMSI, through their digital terrain model topography, they have analyzed that around 998 buildings and 24 kilometers of road length will be affected. Around 2,490 buildings and a road length of 126 kilometers will be affected by potential sea rise. Excuse me. During the high tide in the city. Similarly, they have got reports about Chennai, Kochi, etc. Now, what are the climate study models? Climate study models by climate scientists has been designed as coupled model intercomparison projects. This has been compared with the ocean circulation models. How much the climate is varying and how much the ocean circulation can vary. That means how much sea level can rise. There is the relation. The first climate model was in 1995, which was modified in 1996. Then in 2010, IPCC's report in 2000 came out in the name of SRES, Special Report on Emission Scenarios. Modeling climate change based on representative concentration pathways, RCP. RCP is representative concentration pathways. These RCPs don't represent socioeconomic scenarios, but represent radiative forcing. That means the capacity of a gas affecting the change in the energy in the atmosphere due to the GHG emissions. That means how much the gas emission will have the power to radiate the heat. IPCC has published variety of reports. They call it assessment report 1, 2, 3, 4. In 2014, IPCC's AR5 considered the model assemble CMIP 5 and 4 greenhouse gas emissions, not emissions, it is gas concentration trajectories for possible range of radioactive forcing values in 2100. That is, they call it RCP 2.6, RCP 4.5, RCP 6, RCP 8.5. There are explanations about all this. I'll not go into those details now. The first climate model in India, developed at Indian Institute of Tropical Science, Tropical Meteorology, Pune, with CMIP 6 projections, has contributed to the 6th assessment report. 6th assessment report came out in IPCC's AR6 assessment report 6 in 2021, possibly on 9th of September last year, where SSPs, some new concepts are coming, that is shared socioeconomic pathways are included. The problem is that future is uncertain. We don't know how much technology will grow, how much alternative like hydrogen fuel or some other energy source will come. We need electricity to run our society, but we don't know whether we will be able to continue with the fossil fuels or whether necessity, whatever, as much as is necessary for solar energy, wind power, whether we'll be able to contribute. Like everything is uncertain in future. Like when COVID was there, we did not know about the Ukraine war. We did not know Ukraine war will happen. And you can imagine that every bomb cell which was blasted on Ukraine must have produced some greenhouse gas. Research will say what will happen in the long run. Now the projection is there that up to 2 meter water can rise in sea level waters by 2100. There are a variety of reports. Some people say that it will be 1 meter. Some people say it can be 2 meter, because the uncertainties are there about the glaciers, how fast and how much the glaciers will melt. That will contribute. So that contribution will actually determine the quantity of sea level rise throughout the world. If we consider the volume of ice available, the another one I have shown you as the sleeping giant, that is the Antarctica ice sheet, has a volume of 27 million cubic meters. If it melts fully, then the sea level equivalent will be, sea level rise will be 57.9 meter, which will be enough to drown all of us. Even the Statue of Liberty in New York will also be drowned. For Greenland ice sheet, 7.42 meter forecast is there if the inland entire ice melts. Then glaciers and other ice caps are there, including Alps in Switzerland, the Himalayas in India. The mass of ice is usually given in metric gigatons. 1 gigaton, that is 10 to the power 9 tons, where 1 ton is 1000 kg, as we know. A gigaton is a billion ton. A ton of water occupies 1 cubic meter. A gigaton occupies 1 cubic kilometer of water. So this much are the forecasts. If really all the ice melts, then you see the Statue of Liberty is also going to drown. The other places, some places in India's eastern part, including Sundarbans, the largest delta near Calcutta, and part of Bangladesh, will be submerged by 2050 itself. This picture is from Plymouth, UK. This is from Miami Beach. Miami is a beautiful tourist place. People go to US to visit Miami, but Miami may be flooded like this. These are the forecasts. Controversies and uncertainties. Upper projection window for SLR projections are not uniform across different studies, because there have been various approaches where certain factors were considered, certain factors were not considered, and things are changing. Things are changing automatically by nature. We are nobody there to prevent anything. Very often, future SLR remains deeply uncertain in reality. Projections of SLR from individual studies varies from one another. I have at least read about more than 2000 research papers, and I found everybody is quite confused. That generally fund, and whatever IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, has forecast, the upper projections are generally exceeded. It is always higher than what they have predicted earlier. That means the changes what is happening in the climate was not fully understood. This is a subject, this is a greatest challenge for the human civilization. As I have said, the uncertainties will depend on the marine ice cliff instability and the marine ice sheet instability. One paper by Garner says that all models are wrong. All mathematical models are wrong. Some of them may be correct. So this is a subject of concern for all of us. And because we are also in a country where 7,500 kilometers of coastal line is there, and our city is also under threat. Greenland is still losing ice. No reversal in trend. This is the news which came in last month, July 23. Greenland's ice sheet, what happened between July 15 and 17 is this latest massive melting event contributing to an increase in the global sea level. The amount of water from the melt, about 6 billion tons a day. Imagine the quantity, 6 billion tons a day or 18 billion tons over the weekend, is enough to cover West Virginia in a foot of water, 4 inches per day roughly. This is a report from University of Colorado. Now to come back to the climate change scenarios, there can be rapid growth in economy and effective technology. There can be rapid growth in population. In some countries, population may be controlled. Convergence throughout the world with same population, but reduction in carbon and change in technology can also happen. Future will only say. Then, in these circumstances, in these scenarios, the global mean warming in degree centigrade is expected to be in the order of 1.75, 1.65, 1.29. Paris Agreement wanted that it should be below 2 degrees centigrade from pre-industrial level. other cities. We're not concerned only about Mumbai. Places that might partly disappear because of global warming. There are some pictures taken from internet. Jakarta in Indonesia, New York will look like this, Miami, Venice in Italy, Dhaka, Bangladesh, Miami, our Calcutta, Howrah Bridge is shown, Rotterdam in Netherlands, and Lagos in Nigeria. Extreme weather events are increasing. In various parts of the world, in West Indies, in Canada, in our country, there are recurrence of storms, cyclones, hurricanes. For example, Barda, Bayu, Oki, Cristobal, Bulbul, Fani, Fayan, Amphan, Nisarga, Taukte, to name a few. Extreme weather events will increase. And extreme weather event means lot of high wind, storm, and inundation. Along with this, havoc like the bushfires in Amazon, Australia, California are equally devastating and contributed to huge environmental damage. Believe it or not, we are in danger and threat. Right? While it seems like a distant issue, Antarctica ice is melting. What will happen to Mumbai? It's too far. It's not really that far because the quantity of water will be absorbed in the sea and the coastal lines will change. So one day we will feel it on our doorsteps in the form of rising sea level. There is one good news that in our country, our contribution to global carbon emissions is only 3%, whereas in Europe it is 22%, in USA it is further higher. So mitigation is a shared responsibility, but the burden of carbon prices can't be borne uniformly by all. Now all the countries have to decide. This is a global issue actually. With a global temperature increase of only 1.5 degrees Celsius, under the best case scenario, suppose what we wanted in Paris Agreement, that we will not allow the warming to happen more than 1.5 degrees centigrade. In that best case scenario, the population of emperor penguins, these beautiful animals, will decrease by at least 31%. So that means some of the species, some of the animals are going to be extinct because of climate change. Polar bear eating its own children because they're not getting proper food. There are changes in biology, there are changes in ecology. Climate is affecting health also. Climate change and its effect on civilization can create havoc, including severe sea level rise around all coastal cities, warrants to control flood vulnerability index, FVI. The presentation is an attempt on making people aware of the causes and the effects on climate change, what we can do, or at all we can do anything or not. Can we stop extinction of some species? Whether we will adopt or mitigate the situation? How we will reduce carbon footprint? What are the uncertainties? And finally, what can happen to our own city of dreams, the city of islands? Is Amchi Mumbai ready to face the expected trauma? Researchers raises these questions and seeks to create awareness to mitigate this imminent, unavoidable catastrophe of our time. Some worries and concerns have been noted. As per satellite altimeter data, Greenland losing mass at a rate of 283 gigatons per year, and Antarctica is losing at 145 gigatons per year respectively. Imagine the quantity of water being added to the sea, the ocean. A gigaton means 1 billion metric ton of water, which is enough to fill 4 lakh Olympic-sized swimming pools. By now, about 5,000 gigatons of ice has already melted, which has already raised the sea levels around the world. Now the question is there a solution? The solution is geoengineering. Geoengineering is a mixture of geology and engineering, where there are two aspects. One is solar geoengineering. If we can increase the surface albedo, albedo means the reflection. Reflection, whatever comes, the sunlight what comes to Earth gets reflected by the clouds, by small particle and fumes of gas, etc. There are layers in the stratosphere which reflects the more sunlight back to space. So if we can reduce the warming received from the sun, then it can happen that we may have the capability to control the climate change effects, and another is to reduce the carbon dioxide. So these two aspects are jointly known as geoengineering. Even in geoengineering, some people thought of making some kind of breakwater and guard walls near the marine ice cliffs, such that warm water does not touch the ice and allow the ice to melt. But that is an Herculean task and rather impossible. The concepts are being discussed. Global warming is to be limited to 1.5 degree above pre-industrial levels. This is the decision taken by the Paris Agreement. It was again supported in Glasgow last year in the COP26 meeting in Glasgow summit. All nations agreed, but actually statistics says that the promise what the governments, the nations wanted to keep, they could not keep it because of various reasons. Clean technologies can significantly reduce global emissions. We call it clean technology because we want to reduce the global emissions. There are issues like silicon solar panels, lithium-ion battery, light-emitted diodes, wind turbines, but these all technologies are too expensive. Whether all nations will be able to go ahead with these kind of things or not, we are not very sure at this juncture. India's climate target at COP26 Glasgow conference. India committed to reduce emission intensity of its GDP by 45% by 2030 from 2005 level and achieve about 50% cumulative electric power installed capacity for non-fossil fuel waste energy resources by 2030 as per new nationally determined contributions. They call it in Paris Agreement, they call it NDC, that is the nationally determined contribution. So every nation has to contribute for the globe. Now, how to increase the surface albedo? There is a new research in MIT. They say that these space bubbles, the deflection of solar radiation using thin film inflatable bubble rafts, aerosols, particles. If we can create some bubbles, that bubble will reflect the heat received from and it will reflect the heat. So warming will be less. But these are all at experimental and theoretical stage. These are not industry feasible, and how this will take place, we have to look into the future. Today it is 2022. We are in a pivotal decade because by 2030, global emissions must fall by half. Needed to cut emissions to zero by 2050. We call it net zero situation. Green premium is too high this decade. So this is the time when we should be conscious about reducing the warming. And speeding of innovation is warranted. There may be various other ways. All faculties of science should be together to fight this challenge, to save the civilization, to save the globe. Not what we can do. You and me, what can you do? My first submission, because this program is organized by an engineering college, I would request the students to make something like climate consciousness club. It says that reuse, recycle, reduce the waste. Because the more waste you have, the more methane gas you will produce. Then let us walk or run, use bike. Let us not use our car. Ride the bus to work or carpool, try the bus out. If we combine journey together, then we can save some misuse of fossil fuel. Plant a tree, but not the palm trees. Only canopy trees can help, but the trees alone will not be able to save the climate change. Use less heat and air conditioning. Setting your thermostat just 2 degrees lower in winter and higher in summer could save about 2,000 pounds of carbon dioxide each year. These are the statistics by the researchers. Change a light bulb with compact fluorescent light CFL bulb. If every US family replaced one regular light bulb with a CFL, it would eliminate 90 billion pounds of greenhouse gases. That is same as taking 7.5 million cars off the road. Buy a fuel efficient car or the hybrid one, electric vehicle, but it will be costlier. Buy local goods and products such that transportation will be minimum, the carbon dioxide requirement will be, emissions will be less. Inflate your tires, keep the tires on car adequate. Because of friction, the rubber dust also cause to pollution. AC filter can be cleaned and changed. That will also save some dollars, and that will also help us to reduce the effect of climate change. This is a picture by a climate activist. They say that save Mumbai, stop climate change. Greenpeace. This is our gateway of India, from where Swami Vivekananda traveled to US. This is a famous monument in India. Everybody likes to visit that place. We never want that particular monument be inundated and be underwater. So this imaginary picture is considering after 2 degrees centigrade of warming. If it is 1.5 degree, it will not drown, but there will be some sea level rise. Last week, I got a news on 11th August in the famous newspaper Guardian. Swiss mountain pass will lose all glacier ice in a few weeks for first time in centuries. Will lose all glacier ice in a few weeks for first time. So this is the time we should be, this is high time rather. Now if you see this GIF image, this speaks about how much Mumbai can be inundated in 2050. Historically, scientists have got the image of Mumbai city in 1700. And it is predicted in 2050 it will go back to the level of 2000 of the level as it was in 1700. This research image has been obtained from climatecentral.org, international site. They work jointly with NASA. So this is the scenario of water level going to rise in Mumbai. So gentlemen, all of us should be aware about it, and we must think of, my first appeal is consciousness, then strategies, how to tackle, what to tackle, and further research. Dedicated, motivated team of researchers are required. Let's think whether to sink or to swim or to drown. This is a time when we should be very much alert. My first intention is to make people alert about what is happening. Climate is changing and we are responsible. The human civilization is responsible for climate change. We have to take some ways to reduce the warming, and then we can perhaps survive. There are a lot of literature, there are a lot of scientific researches going on in many places, in our IITs, in our Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, in our universities, in various universities throughout the globe, in UK, USA, all advanced countries, Australia. People are thinking, and there are a lot of research areas which, and every day new innovations are coming. Possibly, let us hope that we will not sink or drown or swim. We will be at least safe. Just one information I will share. I wrote a book on this subject. This is the link for that book. If anybody is interested, one can procure this for library. I have expressed my concern about this issue on all this. So with that, I will close my presentation, and if any question is there, I'll be happy to answer if anything I know about it. Because I am not a climate scientist, I am also a civil engineer, but this is something I thought that this is a global issue, and because Mumbai also is under threat, this gave me a lot of food for thought. I thank the authorities of the Pillai College of Engineering and Technology for giving me this opportunity to speak before all of you. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir, for this amazing information. If anyone have any question, they can post it into chat box. Also, the feedback link has been shared in chat box. Please fill the feedback form, and the certificates for participants will be sent in 2-3 working days. Sir, Mr. Sudip Chakraborty, sir, thank you so much for this amazing information. Thank you for taking out your valuable time for us and giving such important information. These words are really going to help us in our future, to the students also and the faculty members also. Thank you again for your precious words, and we are looking forward to learn from you in future also.
Thank
Also,
you.
I would like to thank all the students and faculty members for attending the webinar. This information is definitely going to be very helpful in our lives. I repeat, if anyone have any question, they can post it into chat box, and also the feedback link has been shared in chat box. Please fill the feedback form.
Yes, Sudipta sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. The lecture
Thank you,
was
Professor
very excellent
Narwar.
and very informative, sir.
Okay, Professor Narware, thank you
So,
all for giving me the scope for speaking before your students and teachers. And this is something my intention is to make people conscious
yes,
about
sir.
it. If you find somebody burning a tire on the road, you should tell them that you are contributing to the greenhouse gas. If you find somebody smoking on the road, you can say you are not only injuring your health, you are adding to the greenhouse gas also.
Yes, sir.
These are the ways of mass awareness and mass actions will, because these are huge to be tackled. This is a huge problem. This is the greatest challenge the civilization is going to face. Is there any question?
मैंने सेव नहीं किया है.
Okay then. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Have a
Thank
nice
you,
weekend.
everyone.
Have a nice weekend. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone. If everyone have filled the feedback form, we can leave the meeting. Thank you so much again.